In this video, we take a look at 15 amazing things that people have found. A metal detector is an electronic instrument which detects the presence of metal nearby. Metal detectors are useful for finding metal inclusions hidden within objects, or metal objects buried underground. They often consist of a handled unit with a sensor probe which can sweep over the ground or other objects. In November 1992, a farmer living near Suffolk, England lost a hammer in one of his fields, so he asked Eric Laws to use his metal detector to search for it. While looking for the hammer, Laws stumbled across something else of interest. 24 bronze coins, 565 gold coins, 14,191 silver coins, plus hundreds of gold and silver spoons, jewellery and statues, all dating back to the Roman Empire. As required by the British law, it was reported to the local authorities, who declared it a treasure trove, meaning it was now legally the property of Britain. However, the government is required to pay fair market value for a treasure trove, meaning the farmer and Eric split 1.75 million. The amazing find is now on permanent display at the British Museum, drawing thousands of people every year. Exploring gardens can be a very exciting and curious activity. For various reasons, people sometimes have to take a spade and dig up their property. Stumbling across some rusty rummage buried under the ground comes as no surprise, but there have been findings that left their finders in absolute amazement. A couple from Sierra Nevada, California experienced what all treasure hunters dream about. When walking their dog on a property, they saw a top of a rusty canister poking out of the ground. The canister contained a bunch of gold discs, and they took it home. They found out the discs were well-preserved gold coins, dating back to the 1890s. They hurried back to the location of their find and discovered a total of 8 cans, which contained 1,427 coins, with a face value of $27,980. Coin dealer Don Kagan helped them restore the coins and evaluate them. The hoard of coins was estimated to be worth around $10 million. When John first bought his house around 5 years ago, he knew it would be a fixer-upper. The house had been built in the 1940s and needed a lot of work, but the 35-year-old was prepared and ready to tackle the daunting task of making his new house into a home. As John made his way across the dusty, ancient ceiling, he noticed something strange lodged in the space between the basement roof and the floorboards above. The lunchbox was latched and tied up with a single brown shoelace. He was nervous to open it. Cautiously, John untied the shoelace. Once the box was open, inside was bundles of cash wrapped up in newspapers. There was an amount of around $2,000. The bills were dated from 1924 to 1934. John went back to see if there was any more boxes, and incredibly there was, but this time the second box was much heavier than the first. When he opened it with his wife, there was over $45,000 worth inside. After getting the money looked at by professionals, it did indeed turn out to be real, and John and his wife ended up banking a hefty sum of money. Some people have found some crazy things in the ground over the years, but this story will make you happy and sad at the same time. A pregnant dog who'd been buried and left beneath the ground was able to make it out alive, all thanks to a kind-hearted man who refused to ignore her cries for help. The animal's shocking ordeal began outside a housing unit in a Russian town. City workers had been called out to a spot to patch a section of sidewalk, where a sinkhole had formed weeks earlier. However, in doing so, they somehow ended up entombing the dog in a cavity that remained under the building's front steps. She might never have been discovered if it weren't for a refusal to be forgotten. In the days that followed, residents Vladimir Rustam and his family were alarmed to the sound of a barking below the freshly laid bricks, so they appealed to the city's housing authorities for assistance. After being told that nothing could be done to help, Rustam took matters into his own hands. Without concern about undoing the recent repairs, he began lifting the bricks and digging through the sand beneath, and it's a good job that he did. Amazingly, despite having spent 2 days without food or water all alone in the dark, the dog was still alive. While it remains unclear how the dog ended up underground, and whether or not she'd been buried alive knowingly. She and her unborn puppies are alive today because of the actions Rustam took to save them. The expectant mother dog believed to have been astray has since been placed under the care of a local animal rescue group. Thankfully, she's said to be doing well and will soon be made available for adoption. In the expanse of open Scotland, one farmer made what is perhaps one of the largest discoveries when he moved aside some stones. He had no idea, but what he discovered was a house buried under the ground. There was much more than a little house though. This farmer had discovered the lost city of Sacre. This is believed to be one of the oldest settlements in Great Britain, and has some of the most interesting history you will ever find. The farmer moved aside a stone on the island of Orkney, and found this. It led to a house that was buried under the ground but has lots of space inside. It's believed to be very old, about 5,000 years old, making it date back farther than the pyramids. The city was covered in sand dunes, making it one of the most well-preserved historic locations. Most of the city had been destroyed except for 8 houses, which were very well preserved and believed to have housed 50 to 100 people. The homes also had a waterproof basin in the middle. This is where they were believed to have kept fish, which were the main part of their diet. All the homes are connected by underground tunnels. However, they all have stones blocking the entrances for privacy. The huts had quite a few rooms, with one larger one for what would be the head of the household. It's amazing to think that a simple action of moving a stone led to a great discovery. Meet Patagotitan maiorum, a long-necked dinosaur that weighed as much as 12 African elephants. A newly named species of sauropod is not only the largest known dinosaur, it now holds the record as the largest animal that ever walked on land. That's the conclusion of the first scientific description of an especially large titanosaur, which slumbered across what is now Argentina during the Cretaceous. Dubbed Patagotitan maiorum, the long-necked dinosaur lived around 102 million years ago, and was likely more than 120 feet long and weighed 69 tons. By those numbers, this dinosaur just edges out the previous largest dinosaur ever, another titanosaur called Dreadnoughtus. W.O. Basham found a giant of a gemstone in 1924, a 40.23 carat diamond. It might surprise you to hear that he wasn't digging in one of the famous South African diamond mines at the time, but he was near Arkansas, at a site that is now the crater of Diamond State Park. Sitting on top of a volcanic pipe, the park is the only diamond site in the world that has been open to the public. Best of all, the park's policy is you find it, you keep it, no matter how valuable it is. Basham's big find, nicknamed the Uncle Sam Diamond, was the largest diamond ever discovered in North America. It was later cut down to 12.42 carats and sold for $150,000 in 1971. Adjusted for today's money, it would have been around $800,000. A graveyard of giants buried 5,000 years ago has been uncovered by archaeologists in eastern China. The men whose bones were discovered in Jinnan City in Shandong Province would have towered above many of their peers. Many of the men discovered in the graveyard measured 5'11", and would have seemed like giants to the average person 5,000 years ago. One of the men in the ancient burial ground measured 6'3 inches, making him a giant of his day. Fang Hu, head of Shandong University's School of History and Culture, told China Daily, "This is just based on the bone structure. If he was a living person, his height would certainly exceed 6'3 inches." Archaeologists say their large tombs suggest they were likely considered powerful, high-status individuals who had better access to food than the average person. Today, men aged 18 living in the region have an average height of around 5'9 inches. Archaeologists have discovered a number of artifacts from the site. They began excavating the ruins of 104 houses in the village last year. Luke Owen was busy laying electricity cables so his kids could play table tennis in the barn in their yard. After digging for a while, he ended up finding a mosaic tile. Owen then contacted Historic England and a team of local archaeologists because the tile looked real. and he was right to do so because it turned out to be part of a Roman villa built between 175 AD and 220 AD. Owen had a feeling something major was about to go down when he found the mosaic. He told The Guardian, "We knew the significance of that straight away. No one since the Romans has laid mosaics as house floors in Britain. Fortunately, we didn't break the mosaic while we were digging." An 8-day excavation discovered that the villa beneath Owen's house was so beautiful that it most likely belonged to one of the most powerful and influential Roman families in Britain. Archaeologists found important artifacts all over the area, including a Roman well, coins, pottery, jewellery, oyster shells and even gold. Dr. David Roberts, an historic England archaeologist, says, "This is a hugely valuable site with incredible potential. The discovery of such an elaborate and extraordinarily well-preserved villa, undamaged by agriculture for over 1,500 years, is unparalleled in recent years, and gives us a perfect opportunity to understand Romans and post-Roman Britain." The woolly mammoth gets all the press, but mastodons also had thick coats of hair to protect them from the intense cold of the Pleistocene North America and Eurasia. It's possible that Ice Age humans found it easier to hunt woolly mammoths, as opposed to mastodons, which may help to explain why the mastodon's fur is so relatively unappreciated today. Woolly mammoth fossils tend to be discovered in association with other woolly mammoth fossils, leading paleontologists to infer that these elephants form smaller family units, if not larger herds. By contrast, most mastodons' remains are completely isolated, which is evidence of a solitary lifestyle among adults. It's possible that adult mastodons only gathered together during breeding seasons, and the only long-term associations were between mothers and children, as is the pattern with modern elephants. 2 boys named Eric and Andrew from Detroit, Michigan, were building a dam in the creek that flows through the backyard when Eric saw a strange-looking rock sticking up from the ground. Surprisingly, it might have been a bone. The family called in a paleontologist who stated the bone was from a mastodon. The fossilized bone was believed to have been 13,000 years old. Borgring is a Viking ring forest, the 5th to be discovered in Denmark. In 2016, a metal detector sounded hopeful while hovering over a clump of soil. Archaeologists took the small earth-encrusted object they found to a local hospital. Graciously, the medical team gave their permission for their CT scanner to be used, and it revealed one of the most valuable finds ever made at the fort: the remains of a Viking-age toolbox. Iron was prized by the Vikings, and to find such a complete set of tools anywhere in the world is very rare. The wooden box is long gone thanks to the magic of rods, but the CT scan showed what could be carpenter's tools. The 14 pieces include what appears to be drawer plate as well as spoon drills. Most require further work to determine their exact nature. Signs of a structural collapse of the gatehouse where the artifacts were buried 10,000 years ago hint that the owner was forced to leave the precious tools behind. While pursuing his hobbies of amateur archaeology and metal detecting, retired electrician Cliff discovered the Ringlemere Gold Cup, a Bronze Age vessel found in the English country of Kent in 2001. Although it had been damaged by a modern plough before he found it, it's still a remarkable find, and only one of 7 similar gold cups found in Europe dating back to the period between 1700 and 1500 BC. It was purchased by the British Museum for $520,000, which was split between Cliff and the family who owned the farm where the cup was found. The largest surviving gold nugget found in the Western Hemisphere is a breathtaking nugget. It's named the Boot of Cortez. It's an amazing piece of gold, weighing in at a massive 389.4 troy ounces. The discovery of the Boot of Cortez is an amazing story, because it was found quite recently in 1989. The story goes that a local prospector from Mexico went to a Radio Shack and purchased an inexpensive metal detector. Remember that in the late 80s, metal detector technology was quite simple compared to newer model detectors. Nevertheless, the prospector swung his new detector for days, recovering little more than nails, a few bullets and other assortment junk. Then one morning he got a huge signal from his detector, and to his surprise he unearthed this amazing gold nugget. His discovery was the Boot of Cortez, the largest gold nugget still in existence from the Western Hemisphere. It trumps the second largest existing gold nugget from the Western Hemisphere, which was found in Alaska by nearly 100 ounces. Its name is very appropriate, as it has a distinct resemblance to the boot of a Spanish conqueror. Many experts consider the Boot of Cortez to be the finest gold nugget in existence, due to its unique shape and beautiful high purity gold. A rare 6th century gold pendant coin has been found by someone using a metal detector. The coin is more than 1,500 years old. The early Anglo-Saxon pendant is imprinted with an image of Emperor Justinian, and is thought to have been made in France. It was found by Geoffrey Pratt in a field near Norfolk. Mr. Pratt said he had made some finds which were of archaeological interest, but this one was amazing. Mr. Pratt, who lives near the town, said, "It appeared to be a golden bottle top, but when I looked closer I found it to be something far more significant. I recognised it to be a gold pendant, and it's extremely rare. Very few have been found in the UK." He has since informed the Norfolk Historic Environmental Record and the county's museum service about its discovery. Dr. Marsden said, "The piece of jewellery had possibly gone into the ground in a burial, probably as a very much loved pendant. The pendant will go to the coroner and then to the British Museum for valuation." The Great Pyramid of Giza is considered one of the 7 wonders of the ancient world. It was built with such precision that our current technology cannot replace it. Historical analysis shows that the pyramids were built between 2589 and 2504 BC. There are so many interesting facts about the pyramids that it baffles archaeologists, scientists, astronomers and tourists. The pyramid is estimated to have around 2.3 million stone blocks that weigh from 2 to 30 tons each, and there are even some blocks that weigh over 50 tons. The interior temperature is consistent and equals the average temperature of the Earth, 20 degrees Celsius. The mortar used is of an unknown origin. It's been analysed and its chemical composition is known, but it can't be reproduced. It's stronger than stone and is still holding up today. 2 secret chambers have been discovered in the Great Pyramid of Giza. Researchers confirmed they found the mysterious cavities after scanning the centuries-old tomb, using revolutionary radiography equipment. The Scan Pyramids project made the latest discovery after being able to demonstrate the efficiency of non-invasive technology. Last year, thermal scanning identified a major anomaly in the Great Pyramid, sparking a debate whether there was a long-running network of tunnels hidden away inside. But now the mystery has been answered. 2 anomalies were found in the pyramid. They are now looking to conduct further tests on the 146-metre high monument to determine their function. Operation Scan Pyramid scientists said, "We are now able to confirm the existence of a void hidden in the north face that could have the form of at least one corridor going inside the Great Pyramid." So that was 15 amazing things that people have found. Thanks for watching and don't forget to subscribe for more countdown videos.